Howdy, my name is Roger William Jorgensen, and today we'll be going over my management philosophy. What to expect today. We're going to talk about kind of the human resource management element, with the concepts, the principles, and also the procedure, and finally finishing things off with my own personal take on management. Now, there are quite a few acronyms in the management realm, one being SMART, which is talking about goals and objectives. And first things first is for it to be specific. You don't want to be too vague when making goals. Also measurable. If you can't tell if you've accomplished your goal, is it a goal? Achievable, making sure that it is realistic, so you do not get disheartened along the way. Also realistic, is it something that can be done at all? It's good to dream, but not to get too out of hand. And then also timely, is it can it be accomplished in a timely manner, or is it just too far fetched in length? Here at the Polk management framework, first thing is kind of planning. Knowing what you want to do as a manager, and with your position there. Also organizing, getting things in order. That can be a lot of things. Certainly your staff would be one of those elements. Leading, which is kind of the funnest part of management, is making a difference that can be seen through leadership. And then finally controlling, making sure that people are being held accountable and doing what you need to do in order to achieve those SMART goals and objectives, things like that. One of the things that's important in management is job analysis. Some of these vocabulary words here kind of go over important things to keep in mind when analyzing the job, things like that. The Heisenberg effect there is when you're keeping track of employees, how if they react differently, their behavior's changed when they're kind of on the spot and they know it, compared to when they do not know if they're being analyzed. Also, there's the staffing, making sure that you do have a good quality group of employees. Evaluation, it can be done in quite a few different forms. We'll be talking about that later as well. And there's training with the different types of training. Just a few. Kind of following in an employee's footsteps, kind of an on-to-the-job training booklet sort of thing. And there's also off-the-job training methods. And then also in there's job descriptions, which are incredibly important to know how you are doing in a job. If you don't know the description of what you're supposed to be doing, it's certainly hard to be judged on what it is. Here also is recruitment. The human resource management systems have been incredibly important in keeping track of things like payroll and information on employees, things like that. Also supply and demand, you have to keep that in mind when you are recruiting. If you want to hire 100 employees, that's great. But that's certainly not that easy because that is a high number, and some areas can't account for that. They don't have the workers there. Also selection, going through applications and making sure you do find a right fit. You don't want to just hire somebody off their resume, but resume is certainly the best way to get somebody to sit down in front of you and to find out more about them if they would be a good fit. There's orientation, the different types of orientation, but it's important to know that it is important to kind of let employees hit the ground running by teaching kind of the aspects of the business that are important and how to carry oneself. Also, there's socialization, making sure that new employees do feel welcome and a valued member of the team at all times. So, like I said earlier, here's some of those training methods. We have kind of on-the-job training, just figure it out sort of thing. Mentoring, kind of following the footsteps of either the person you're replacing or someone who's working the same type of job. Just the standard job instruction training, kind of sitting down in front of a video and learning how to do it that way. And then another method that's used is job rotation, to just kind of keep people excited and not to fall into any sort of monotony of the same job over and over, but to rotate and really appreciate that employee's ability to do well for the company. So now employee benefits, super important. I have 4 here that kind of talk about why it's important to give benefits to employees. We talk about here the retention of quality employees. You're more likely to keep a quality staff if they do have kind of extra incentives over than just their standard paycheck. Some benefits can be based on productivity, and with that, you can see an increased productivity in some of your employees. Reductive labor loss, no wasting time. People can be more goal-driven, and they might need a kick in the butt, which is what a benefit is, certainly when it's based on efficiency, things like that. And then also, along with that, increased employee focus, making sure that people aren't wasting time. They know that if they get the job knocked out, there's a benefit. There's no benefit to kind of dragging your feet and milking it. So now I just want to talk about kind of my personal opinion on management and whatnot. I've got it written here. In a culture that lacks kind of trust and honesty, I've always struggled to find a proper way in which to manage. And with so many options, definitions, and ways of controlling your employees, it certainly is easy to become overwhelmed. And the sheer amount of information that is expected to be taken into account when managing employees is enough to scare many people away from kind of that leadership role. Now, the result is a situation where, as a manager, I am interested with the early processes, kind of that hiring of things, training, and setting them free, setting those employees free into the workspace. As a business owner myself, I can appreciate the importance of a competent individual, and in my experience, when you hire competently, you're able to put together a team that is purpose-driven and hungry for success on their own free will, without any of those other elements we talked about before. And when I hire someone who I can trust, I don't have to worry about many of the other elements that we've just been going over. Kind of a self-starter is always very important. As I said here, although it's very important it's in their own right, when you hire smart, you save yourself from many of the issues that you do tend to take up the time of most managers. Kind of not being afraid to hire competent people, let you kind of skip some of the steps that we've learned over this semester, but I reckon I wouldn't have it any other way. Just here to close, I've got a good quote from Harvey Mackey, who was a man. It just says here, employee loyalty begins with employer loyalty. Your employees should know that if they do the job they're hired to do with a reasonable amount of competence and efficiency, you will support them. And I think that just sums everything up in terms of my management philosophy. Thank you very much. God bless.